Espresso Talks by Sphere Energy.
Welcome to Espresso Talks, and today I'm here joined by Wolfgang, CTO from Festool, and Lukas Lutz, which doesn't need a big introduction anymore, I would say, but co-founder of Sphere Energy. I would say we start with a little intro round, so maybe who are you and what is Festool?
Oh, thank you. So thanks a lot for the invitation. My name is Wolfgang Knorr. I'm CTO, COO from the company TTS, or better known as Festool. We are a power tool producer. You see it here. We are very proud. Our flagship product, it's a track saw, blunt stop saw. As you see, it's a premium product. We are positioning ourselves as a premium power tool producer for mainly professional woodworkers and painters. And the company is nearly or exactly 100 years old now. So we are a long time in the business. And we are focusing always on professionals and technology and differentiating. So our mission is we want to make professional craftsmen successful and proud. And the company is a German mid-sized company, around 3,300 employees. We are based close to Stuttgart in Wendlingen, 100% family owned. And the company was in the past known as Festool, but in 2000 the company was separated into different one. One is Pneumatics, and the more known one is the power tool company Festool.
Great, thank you so much for the intro. I mean, 100 years of history is no joke, especially still manufacturing in Europe. I think, quite rare these days. Festool, as you said, seems to be choosing quality and innovation at the forefront a lot. Maybe how does that look like in practice?
I think what differentiates us is we are striving to understand our customers better than anybody else. So we invest a lot to understand what is a job to be done from our customers and support them with the best solutions, what we have, what we can, in order to make them more successful with our products. This means we are investing in technology foresight development. We are investing a lot in batteries because the trend from cordless to cordless is a very obvious and very important one also for us. And so that's why we are trying to understand more and more what is the really needs from our customers.
100%.
And I can imagine, Wolfgang, that this is not an easy task, right? Out of the sudden, I mean, you're a very technology-focused, very technology-driven company. The last maybe 90 years, you were very focused on the application of the user. And now we're living in a time where battery is becoming en vogue, right? I think it's and I would like to hear your opinion on this. It's a challenge and an opportunity at the same time. I think a lot of new applications turned out and open up new business opportunities for you. But I can also imagine that it causes some strain in the organization, right? And some stress in the organization, especially because the battery is not a simple product, right? Maybe you can elaborate a little bit more of what the battery changed in your industry from a business perspective, but also from an organizational perspective.
Yeah, of course. I think the most differentiating between the past and today is in the past, power was not a limitation because it comes out of the grid. It was not a real problem. So it was the whole company or the industry was like, hey, what is the job to be done by our customers? And comes from a market pull perspective to understand what does really the customer needs, and the engineers will fix it. And power was never ever a limitation because it comes out of your grid. But with battery, it changed. So battery, you have a limitation in current, you have a limitation in voltage, you have a limitation in capacity. And with the shift from EC to EV also, it is a huge technology push on the market where the battery is getting more and more advanced in a much faster way than in the past. So the whole industry has now a technology push from the one side and a market pull from the other side. And this brings a lot of new challenges also for us. in place to say, what does really it mean for a customer? What is a real need from a battery perspective, and how to really catch up with all these fast changes on a product or battery side to influence of the machine itself.
I can imagine. And I'm also curious to understand how your organization is dealing with that. I mean, I can imagine this needs a lot of new talent, probably some processes. I'm just thinking about procurement. I guess procuring a battery is way different than procuring a piece of metal or a motor.
Absolutely. I think the industry, when you look at our competitors, the majority are Asian-based or produced more or less everything in Asia. And the batteries come more or less everything, all batteries come from Asia. So for them, it's much easier to deal because the source and also the application is within one country. We are proud to produce more or less everything in Europe. So we have to deal with a supply chain with cell producers from abroad. And also we have a lot of challenges within the company because this transition to shift this from this market pull to this technology push combined with all this new technology which comes from abroad, which also have cultural impact, which also have different time zone problems because we are living on the different side of the globe. So that's a lot of challenges for us as well. Besides this internal technology push and market pull, also from this outside views is, okay, what does it mean to work together with companies which are not from our origin?
I can imagine. And as a premium power tool manufacturer, you probably have to have also at least one of the best battery packs with the best battery cells in there, right? And as we know from all the other markets that we're working in and working with, in the EV field, but also in the stationary field, having the best battery cell out there means testing a lot, means generating a lot of data. And maybe let's use data as the segue to the next topic, right? Besides batteries, and batteries probably a part of this, data is becoming more and more relevant for you as a company, but also for you as a CTO. I can imagine it must be a high pressure situation when you're the most technical person within the company, and probably for every battery problem and every data, AI, technology problem, everybody looks to you and wants an answer, right? How do you cope with that? I wouldn't say pressure, but with this new challenge for a CTO to cope with so many different technologies?
The good thing is we have a good partner, Fair Energy. And I think the biggest challenge is data are one of the biggest source of the future. And when you look at from a data perspective, it is not just on the technology side, on the product side, the batteries. For example, in batteries, everybody asks us, hey, you have to be lucky because this shift from EC to EV vehicles, it helps you a lot. For sure it helps, but we have a total different requirement. We are limited to 18 volt because 18 volt is a platform. For us, every battery pack has the same voltage. Mm-hmm. So this means we have to play with a higher current. The car industry can go up to 800 volt and reduce the current. We have to deal always with 18 volt. And so we have a total different requirement. We are not so capacity driven, we're more power driven on a battery cell. This means we need a total different specification. So we have to test to understand, because each battery from the sheet itself looks similar, but in the end we are driving the battery over the limits. And so you have to more and more test. We have data, you have to specify. So on this side, on the battery side, we need much more data in order to understand really what are the requirements, the limits of one cell, and does it really fit to our requirement to be the most powerful battery cell in the market.
And I can imagine this machine, as it looks, consumes quite a lot of power.
Absolutely. And even more, because in the end, it's like in the car. Everybody is competing and say, okay, my machine has more horsepower than the other one. And when we go to the business itself, you have also these new regulations, upcoming regulations, mainly in Europe, for example, this sustainability reporting, CSRD, it's all about data. You have to fulfill more and more requirements from the regulation, and it's all about preparing data to make sure you are compliant with the law. But also from the business opportunity side, the data is very important also for our customers, to understand our customers better in order to make better products for them. Because if you drive a battery on a limit, you have to understand what are the customer really using it. If you ask a customer, it's totally different what you see when you really measuring what they are doing. So data is so important to understand also our customers better in order to make them better products.
Yeah.
And you ask me, what does it mean for us? For us means we have to focus much more on data. That's the reason why we set up the project with you, was that, okay, data is our power. And for example, AI is just a tool.
I mean, maybe that's an interesting point you brought up, also with understanding your customer, understanding what are the requirements of an actual tool when it's being used. Maybe can you dive a little deeper on that? What is the kind of data that you gather? How do you gather it? And how does that also help you to create better tools?
For example, when you look, each battery tool today is connected to the internet via the iPhone. As long as the customer let us do it, if the customer agrees, we collect a lot of data within the machine. For example, how often it's turned on, it's turned off, how much it was over the limit, how much was the temperature in a pack. So we collect a lot of user data in the pack, and then we send it to us, and then we can really say, okay, how does the machine was used? It is totally in line with
Privacy regulations.
Yes, with the privacy regulations. So we cannot really say what was the real customer and so on, but we understand better what is the real usage of the machine and how the battery was used on, for example, safety reasons, for example, temperature, overheating, overcurrent. So these are typical data what we collect.
Yeah, and handling with such large amounts of data, I'm sure, is quite challenging. Maybe some words on that. I'm sure a lot of companies can also relate to that point.
Absolutely, and the data has to be high quality. Because in the first test, what we did, we figured out a lot of the data were really corrupt, and we could not use them. It's also very important to have a clear data governance in place and make sure the data you are collect are really reliable.
Data, yes, 100%.
Cool, yeah, and I mean this brings us probably a little bit more into the data and AI regime to understand. I mean, it's always a big topic, and the question is, where do you get started, right? You as a CTO, I can imagine the question, what is data worth, is always in the beginning, right? Not an easy one to answer. What is the chicken? What is the egg? Do you collect data first and then create value, or do you have value first and then collect the data to it? Yeah. How did you get started, and what motivated you and the company in the end to engage in this endeavor?
I think it's a funny part, because the most question what I got the last couple of years was, what is the value of data? What is the real value of data? How can I put an currency on it? And frankly speaking, you cannot. I think the question is wrong. You don't have to ask, okay, what is the worth of data? You have come from the use case. You have to understand, okay, what do we really want to do with, and what are the data, and does data help us to solve the problem? And I think the most important part is, it is not a question, do we really need data? It's more like, we need data, and what can we do as efficient as possible to use the data in order to make our business more successful.
Absolutely. And what are the areas? How did you structure this?
I think it, from a learning point from the beginning, was we started as typical, I think, a mechanical engineering company. We started from use cases. We said, okay, we want to bring together the IT and the departments, because a lot of companies think, okay, data is or AI is an IT problem, and it is not an IT problem. 100%. It is a problem of the departments. The departments need something to be more efficient, and the departments are in the driver's seat. And the IT helps them to make sense out of the data. And that's the reason why we started with more like a kind of gamification and said, okay, let's do it in a different way. Go to the department and say, okay, hey, we are looking for things what we can solve with AI in a broad sense. It has not to be just a neural network. It could also be automation in a classical sense. And say, okay, look, what problems do you have? And do you think it could be solved by AI? And then together with you as partner, as Sphere, say, okay, an technical partner to say, okay, it's a problem. Is it really a problem what we can address and it is worthwhile to solve it with an AI approach? And if it is yes, make a business case and pitch it to a board. For us, my colleague and I, as the CFO, and we got also presentation. It was more like this famous TV show in the US, Shark Tank, or Höhle der Löwen in Germany, where we said, okay, where the departments pitch against each other and say, okay, I want money from you in order to get my business case approved in order to solve my problem. It was a really cool experience, but in the end, it turned out, it is always a data problem. Everything belongs to, hey, it's a cool case, but where is the data? Oh, okay, the data are not, they are corrupt, they are not there, they are unstructured, and everything what we say, hey, cool idea, but we are not prepared for. And in the end, we said, okay, it's a cool thing to do it, but we have to start much earlier with a clear data process. Because data is the power and AI is just a tool. But if you have no data, you cannot solve it on the other side with AI.
100%.
Yeah. I think it's a topic that we also had in one of our previous episodes when we talked about Sphere ourselves. I mean, the foundation of it all had to be that this data governance, this strategy from the beginning. And obviously, for us, it was a little easier, I guess, with a green field, we would say, starting in a company like this. Much more difficult, I would say. Yeah, for sure. Can you maybe, you said about this Shark Tank approach. I think it's a really brilliant idea, also to involve all departments. Did you face any, let's say, negativity when you brought this idea up to departments, or how did people react?
Yes, I think in general, I would say it was a very positive experience and people embraced it. But the difference was we had teams which were on a different stage. One team was very abroad and said, hey, I have a clear idea. I have also a partner where I can solve with. And this Shark Tank slowed them a little bit down. Because now it's okay, we have now a battlefield where everybody competes to each other. And so this approach slowed down teams which were a little bit ahead of the time. Others were super happy and say, hey, I had never ever an idea about this problem to solve it with AI, and with this initiative, we brought it up. So this was more on the positive side. And also, I think it's also a positive negative thing is pro-con thing is we saw a lot of similarities, commonalities in these pitches. We saw some where are typical large language models. So it's about knowledge management. We have unstructured or structured data from pictures, from videos, from product information thing, or from R&D knowledge thing, and we want a chatbot to help people to get answers easier. So it was one commonality. Others one are this typical technical stuff where we say, okay, it's a technical multi-parameter problem from big data, and we need a neural network to make sense out of this data. So it was also a second part of commonality. Mm-hmm. And the third one was, okay, it's just a topic where you don't need a neural network. It's just an automation process, but it helps the company in general, but you don't need this high sophisticated neural network. You can do it with a software which is already available on the market. But I also embrace it because these are early wins, what we also can use, because it helps us to makes us more efficient and helps us also on our digitalization roadmap as well.
That's great. So the battery was really, if I summarize this correctly, kind of a catalyzer to kick off a new approach within Festool, where data out of the sudden became very important, and now you're on a clear digital and AI, data and AI strategy. And maybe to conclude the round, looking into the future a little bit, what do you see changing I mean, we're living in crazy times right now, not only from a technological, but obviously, as we all know, from a geopolitical perspective as well. But where do you see really AI helping us here in Europe, here in Germany, and specifically you for Festool?
Yes, I think for us it's very clear. We won't be a company which makes the next big LLM model, for sure. But as a German mid-sized company, we should embrace the technology shift, which is ongoing, invest time, invest money to say, okay, what can we really use, how we can utilize this new technology in order to make us more efficient, make better products for our customers, so also to grow revenue, and finally also to find new talents, because everybody wants to work on a more creative environment. People are not willing to do repetitive, boring work all the time. So that's what we can really outsource to an AI. And people want to do more this creative stuff to say, okay, we are as a very high-priced area like Germany, we need to get rid of this boring stuff in order to embrace and focus on this creativity and stay ahead of the competition with innovative and creative products.
You sold me on that one. If I would be looking for a job, that's the company I would hire in.
I think maybe to wrap it up also for our audience, I would have one more question in terms of if there would be one piece of advice that you could give to another maybe traditional industrial company starting or wanting to start their AI journey as well, what would that be?
Start. And I think it's very important to start and try something, fail, adjust, try. Don't believe this classical way. I make a strategy where I have a target, where I want to go through. This AI and data thing is so fast. So you have to just embrace it, start, and trial and error.
I love that.
Amazing. Thanks a lot, Wolfgang.
Thanks a lot for the invitation. Was fun.
Great.
And to all our listeners, I would say we hope you enjoyed this Espresso Talks episode, and let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. Otherwise, we're happy to see you again in 4 weeks.